Super Scholars, and I am super happy you are here to work on your writing skills. So on Monday, we talked about the difference between a naming and a telling part. Both parts are required for a complete sentence, and we used our knowledge of nouns and verbs to help us out. So let's take one more look. A naming part is what comes first in our sentence, and in a naming part, it tells who, so a person, or what, a thing, a place, or an animal, this sentence is about. The naming part includes the noun in our sentence, the person, place, animal, or thing that gives our sentence a character. After we've named who our sentence is about, then we write the telling part. The telling part tells your reader what they did. They is the naming part, the noun, and then our telling part is their verb, the action. What is the noun doing? That's our telling part. And we need both to make a complete sentence. So let's check out our learning goal for today. It says, I can complete the sentence by adding a naming or telling part. So today we are going to work on a skill that's going to help us when we're editing our own writing. Sometimes we're going to write an incomplete sentence, so one that's missing one of the parts. Today we're going to have to recognize which part is missing and complete that sentence to make sure our work is correct. And when we're doing this, we are relying on our sentence equation. A naming part plus a telling part equals a complete sentence. You can't have a complete sentence if one is missing. So today we're going to work on completing every sentence that we see. And in this equation, I want you to notice that the naming part is first and the telling part is second. That is an important order. In normal addition in math, the order doesn't matter, but here in writing it does. We need to start with the naming part and then add the telling part in order to have a complete sentence. If they get mixed, our sentence is going to sound a little funny, even maybe like how Yoda talks. But we're in second grade and we need to follow this formula. So today, I want you to have a whiteboard out. We are going to have parts of sentences up, and we're going to write our own silly sentences together. So I want you to have a whiteboard so you can follow along and you can craft your own sentences. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a phrase and I want you to tell me, is it a naming or telling part? Let's see. The cute little puppy. Is that a naming or telling part? Is there a noun or a verb in this phrase? There's a noun, there's a puppy, that's a what? That's my character, so this is a naming part. It names what my sentence is about. So if I have my naming part up here, what's missing? What's the part that's missing? The telling part. We need to figure out, what is this puppy doing? They need to have some action. And guess what? We get to make it up. So we have the cute little puppy, but we need to continue writing our sentence and afterwards add our telling part. So you can write the same sentence as me or make up your own. What should my puppy do? The cute little puppy danced the salsa. Period. So these are fun, silly sentences, so you can make up anything. The cute little puppy danced the salsa. I made sure to add my telling part after my naming part and what comes at the end of every sentence. Our punctuation, I made sure to put a period. So this is my first silly sentence with both my naming part and my telling part. Okay, are you ready for another one? I want us to get creative with our sentences. So reset your whiteboard. Let's see, what about this one? Wore glittery shoes. Wore glittery shoes. Is that a naming or a telling part? What do we think? Is there a verb in this phrase? There is. Wore is an action, therefore it's telling. It is telling what someone did. They wore glittery shoes. But if we have a telling part, what's missing? What's the other part of our sentence we need? We need our naming part. Who or what is wearing these glittery shoes? We only have an action and we don't have a character. So let's write that in right now. Who do you want to wear glittery shoes? And when you write this, it's naming, so it has to come before. So I'm going to say the big duck wore glittery shoes. A duck is my character, my who, and what they did was wear glittery shoes. So you can craft your own sentences right now. You can pause me if you like between these. But remember, we're getting creative. I want you to make them funny. So here I've got my naming part and my telling part, and I made sure they were in the correct order. Naming, then telling. Okay, let's make another one. Reset. What about this? Came to visit my school. Our next phrase. Came to visit my school. Is this naming or telling? What do you think? It's a telling part. There is a verb in here, and it's telling what something did. They came to my school. But if we have our telling part, what do we need to add to make this sentence complete? Which part? We need to add a naming part. Who came to visit my school? That important part is missing. So we're going to add our naming part before the telling and pick our character. Who do I want to come to visit my school? The tall basketball player came to visit my school. So a basketball player is my naming part, and what they did is they came to visit my school. And I made sure to write my naming part before my telling part. Okay, let's look at another one. Remember, always pause me if you want to take more time with your sentence. That's totally okay. So let's see. What about this one? It says, the famous movie star. The famous movie star. Is this naming or telling? It's naming. The movie star is a who. It's the character and who our sentence is about. So, if we have our who, what do we need to complete this sentence? They need an action. So, let's make up a silly sentence. What should our movie star do? The famous movie star smelled her feet. That's a silly sentence. The famous movie star smelled her feet. And what did I use to end my sentence? A period. Because in our telling part, it ends our sentence, and we make sure to end it with a period. So I have my naming part, and afterwards, I wrote my telling part about what that movie star did. Okay, ready for another one? Let's make some more silly sentences. What about this one? Beat the drums loudly. Beat the drums loudly. Naming or telling? It's telling. We have a verb. We have an action. They are beating the drums. So if we know what something did, what part are we missing to complete the sentence? The naming part. We need a who or a what. Who is beating the drums loudly? So, let's add it. And if we're adding the naming part, we are going to write it before, because that's what starts our sentence. So, who beat the drums loudly? Let's see. My crazy cat beat the drums loudly. So that's who was doing it. My crazy cat. And what they were doing? Beating the drums loudly. Okay. So we have been practicing editing writing, which is so important when we look at our own work and we want to make sure it's the best. We have to check every sentence that we have both a naming and a telling part. So now you are going to do just that on your own. So I'm going to give you 5 parts of a sentence. These are all different sentences you are going to write. You're going to eventually write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences. You are going to take a look at each of these phrases separately and decide, like we did, is this phrase a naming or a telling part? And then if so, what is the other part that's missing? And then you get to again write silly sentences by completing the sentence with the missing phrase. So I'm going to read these to you. 1, the brave soldier. 2, danced in a pink tutu. 3, baked a cheese pizza. 4, a giant rhino. 5, took a picture of a snake. So these are all going to be their own sentences. So you'll take a look. Which part is this? And which part do I need to add? And then you'll do that with number 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to write all these sentences on a nice piece of paper using your very best handwriting and your spelling dictionary to find words that you would like to write. So you're going to do what we just did by completing these sentences with the part that is missing. And I want you to get creative, make as silly sentences as you possibly can. Okay, Super Scholars, go ahead and use that big imagination of yours, and I can't wait to see what complete sentences you create.